Imagine you're a father of 3. You live in a beautiful home near one of Utah's most scenic ski towns. You have a successful business, a house and a family. Now imagine that the one person in the world you trust the most, the person who makes your meals, who sleeps beside you, who calls herself your wife, is quietly, methodically planning to kill you. Eric Richins said those exact words to his loved ones. He was afraid. He was suspicious. He even survived what he believed were earlier attempts on his life. And then, one night in March 2022, he didn't survive. What his wife did next will genuinely leave you speechless, because she didn't just walk away. She wrote a children's book about it. This is one of the darkest, most calculated stories I have ever covered. Stay with me because every layer of this case is more disturbing than the last. Welcome back to Dark Files, the channel that goes deep into the world's most haunting true crime cases, untold stories, and the darkness that hides in plain sight. If you are new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because we release new cases every week, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming. And if you've been here before, you already know. Once a Dark Files story gets into your head, it doesn't leave. Today we are diving into the case of Kouri Richins, a Utah mother, a real estate agent, and according to prosecutors, a cold-blooded killer who poisoned her own husband for money and love, and then had the nerve to write a grief book about it. Let's get into it. To understand this case, you first need to picture where it happened, because the setting matters. Kamas, Utah, a small town about 40 miles southeast of Salt Lake City, sitting in the shadow of the Wasatch Mountains. It's the kind of place where people have big homes, strong community ties, and lives that look, from the outside, completely perfect. Eric and Kouri Richins were, by all appearances, that couple. Eric co-owned a successful stonemasonry business. Kouri worked in real estate, flipping homes. They had 3 young sons together. They lived in a spacious house and moved in social circles that gave every impression of wealth and success. But here, that's the first question I want you to sit with. How often does the perfect life hide something terrifying underneath? Because behind the Instagram-worthy exterior of the Richins household, the marriage was deteriorating fast. By 2020, Eric had reportedly discovered what court documents later describe as ongoing abuse and misuse of his finances by his wife. He consulted an estate planning attorney. He was so alarmed by what he found that he removed Kouri as the beneficiary of his $500,000 life insurance policy. He moved their home and his business interest into a trust, overseen not by Kouri, but by his own sister. Let that sink in. Eric Richins, while still married to this woman, was already legally trying to protect himself and his assets from her. He was afraid, he was suspicious, and he was right to be. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. While Eric was quietly trying to shield his estate from Kouri, Kouri was already making moves of her own. In January 2022, just weeks before Eric Richins would be dead, Kouri took out a life insurance policy on her husband. She named herself as the beneficiary. The total coverage from multiple policies added up to nearly $2 million. And prosecutors allege she forged Eric's signature on the application. By February 4, 2022, the policy was in effect. Eric Richins had less than a month to live. Now, I want you to ask yourself something. Does an innocent person take out a secret multi-million-dollar life insurance policy on their spouse, forge the signature, and then that spouse dies weeks later? Keep that question in your mind. We are just getting started. At the same time, court documents later revealed that Kouri Richins was under massive financial pressure. A forensic accountant testifying at her 2026 trial stated that, as of March 2022, the month Eric died, Kouri was approximately $7.5 million in debt. She had allegedly taken out secret lines of credit on properties she and Eric shared. She had allegedly been falsifying documents to obtain loans. She owed money she could not repay. Eric's estate, on the other hand, was worth more than $4 million. Do you see the motive forming? And there's one more piece of this puzzle, one that makes the entire picture even darker. Kouri Richins was having an affair. Prosecutors say that at the time of her husband's death, Kouri Richins was romantically involved with a man identified in court as Robert Josh Grossman. During the trial, prosecutors displayed text messages exchanged between Kouri and Grossman. And one text, sent the night before Eric Richins died, stopped the entire courtroom. Kouri Richins allegedly wrote to her boyfriend, "If I was divorced right now and asked you to marry me tomorrow, would you?" The prosecution's lead attorney told jurors point blank, "The evidence will prove that Kouri Richins murdered Eric for his money and to get a fresh start at life." He told them she wanted Eric's millions to perpetuate her facade of privilege, affluence, and success. So let's now go back to the evidence of what she was allegedly doing to Eric before that final, fatal night. Because prosecutors say this wasn't sudden. This was a campaign. Court filings allege that Kouri Richins attempted to poison her husband on at least 3 separate occasions before the night he died. Attempt number 1, Greece. Eric's own sister told investigators that years before his death, the couple had taken a trip to Greece. While there, Eric's wife gave him a drink. What followed was horrifying. Eric became violently ill. He called his sister from Greece and reportedly told her, "I think my wife just tried to kill me." He survived. The trip ended, and life went on, at least for a while. Attempt number 2, Valentine's Day 2022. A sandwich with a love note on it, left in Eric's truck. Prosecutors allege that on February 14, 2022, Kouri prepared a sandwich for her husband, allegedly laced with fentanyl, and placed it in his vehicle with a Valentine's Day note. According to court filings, after just 1 bite, Eric broke out in severe hives and could not breathe. He used his own son's EpiPen. He took Benadryl, and then he passed out for several hours. Days later, he allegedly told a friend, "She tried to poison me." He suspected. He told people, and yet, he was still living under the same roof as her. Now ask yourself, why didn't he leave? Why didn't he report it? Maybe he doubted himself. Maybe he loved his kids too much to blow the family apart. Maybe he simply didn't believe that the woman he married could actually be capable of murder. It's a chilling question with no easy answer. Attempt number 3, March 3rd to 4th, 2022. The last night. Kouri Richins told investigators that on the night of March 3rd going into the 4th, she and Eric were celebrating. She had recently closed on a property for her real estate business, and the couple were marking the occasion with drinks at home. She said she made Eric a Moscow Mule in the kitchen and brought it to their bedroom, where he drank it while sitting in bed. She said she then went to check on one of their children and fell asleep in the child's room. When she woke up and returned to the bedroom, Eric was cold to the touch. She called 911. On the recording of that 911 call, which was played in open court, Kouri Richins was heard sobbing hysterically, barely able to speak, saying she didn't know what had happened and didn't know how to do CPR. Her defense attorney played that clip in her opening statement. "Those were the sounds of a wife becoming a widow," she told jurors. But prosecutors painted a very different picture. According to the medical examiner, Eric Richins had 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in his system. And it was illicit fentanyl, not medical grade. Not something prescribed. Street fentanyl. Investigators also noted that police found an empty bottle of ginger beer, a standard Moscow Mule ingredient, in the trash of the Richins home. And here is a detail that makes the blood run cold. Kouri had claimed she was asleep during the hours her husband was dying. But when investigators checked her phone records, they discovered that messages were sent and received from her phone during that exact window of time. Every single one of those messages had been deleted. One of the central questions in this case is, how did Kouri Richins get her hands on fentanyl? Prosecutors say the answer involves her own housekeeper. A woman named Carmen Lauber, who worked in the Richins home, became a key witness for the state. According to Lauber's testimony, she sold Kouri Richins up to 90 blue-green fentanyl pills on multiple occasions, which she had herself acquired from a dealer. Lauber was granted immunity in exchange for her testimony. The defense, naturally, attacked her credibility, arguing she was motivated to lie to protect herself legally. Defense attorneys also pointed out that the pills were never found in the Richins home, and that Lauber's dealer later recanted key portions of his statement. And that's where this case gets complicated, because unlike in TV crime dramas, real cases have messy witnesses, conflicting testimonies, and evidence that isn't always clean or conclusive. But the prosecution's broader argument is this. Kouri Richins, a woman who was $7.5 million in debt, was having an affair, had secretly forged life insurance policies on her husband, and had allegedly already tried to kill him twice before, is the only person with both the motive and the means to have put a fatal dose of fentanyl into Eric Richins' body on the night of March 3rd. What do you think? Could there be another explanation? Tell me in the comments below. I genuinely want to know where you stand on this. This is the part of the story that made the entire nation stop and stare. In the months following Eric Richins' death, Kouri Richins appeared publicly as a grieving widow. She told people her husband had died of a brain aneurysm. She spoke about the pain of loss. She talked about how she was trying to hold her family together for her 3 young boys. And then, she self-published a children's book. The book was titled, Are You With Me? It depicted a father with angel wings watching over his young son from above. It was framed as a tool to help children cope with the loss of a parent. Kouri promoted the book on local Utah television. She gave interviews. She appeared on Good Things Utah, a local morning show, and talked about how she wrote the book to help her children understand what happened to their father. She said she wanted to help other families going through grief. It later emerged at trial that the book was not even written by Kouri Richins. Prosecutors presented evidence showing it had been written by a ghostwriter. But here is the most haunting thing about this book. If prosecutors are right about what Kouri Richins did, then this woman allegedly poisoned her husband, killed him, and then published a children's book, featuring him as the angel looking down at his sons, as part of a calculated effort to maintain the image of a grieving widow. A grief book, written by the woman accused of creating that grief. Let that sit with you for a moment. Investigators say it didn't sit quietly with them. In May 2023, over a year after Eric Richins' death, Kouri Richins was arrested and charged with aggravated murder. She has been held without bail ever since. But then, investigators discovered something in her jail cell that added a shocking new dimension to the case. A letter 6 pages long. Prosecutors say it was a letter Kouri had written to her brother, Ronald, from behind bars. In it, according to court filings, she appeared to be instructing him to tell a specific false story, that Eric Richins had himself purchased opioids from Mexico, that he kept them hidden in an allergy pill bottle in his truck. Investigators called it witness tampering. The letter quickly became known in legal circles and in the press as the Walk the Dog letter, a name drawn from how the instructions were disguised in the text. If she was innocent, why would she need to fabricate a story about where the drugs came from? That is a question prosecutors have been asking loudly in court. After years of legal battles, delayed proceedings, and failed attempts to get the case moved or dismissed, the murder trial of Kouri Richins finally began on February 23, 2026. In Summit County, Utah, Kouri Richins now faces charges of aggravated murder, attempted aggravated murder, insurance fraud, and forgery. She has pleaded not guilty to all counts. A conviction on the murder charge alone carries a sentence of 25 years to life in prison. Prosecutors built their case around the financial motive. The life insurance fraud, the affair, the deleted phone messages, the housekeeper's testimony about fentanyl, and the alleged prior poisoning attempts. The defense countered by arguing that the evidence of how fentanyl entered Eric's body was never conclusively established. They challenged the credibility of the housekeeper. They suggested Eric himself may have had access to drugs. Defense attorney Catherine Nestor played the 911 call of Kouri sobbing hysterically. A woman, she argued, who had just lost her husband. But perhaps the most striking moment of the entire trial came near the end. The defense rested its case without calling a single witness. Kouri Richins herself chose not to testify. As of now, the jury is deliberating. The verdict in this case has not yet been reached. And here, I want to ask you directly, based on everything you've heard today, do you think Kouri Richins is guilty? Drop your answer in the comments. No judgment. I genuinely want this community's perspective on where the evidence points. Before we get to the outro, I want to leave you with one more detail, because it reframes this entire story in a way that I find genuinely disturbing. In May 2024, a newly unsealed search warrant revealed that Kouri Richins' own mother had a romantic partner who died of a suspicious overdose in 2006. That case was never criminally charged. We don't know the full circumstances. But the question investigators are clearly asking, the question I think we all have to sit with, is whether this kind of calculated, patient, financially motivated violence is something Kouri learned from someone else, or something entirely her own. And what does it say about the people closest to us, that sometimes the most dangerous person in your life is the one who makes your breakfast, tucks your children in at night, and tells you they love you? Eric Richins suspected his wife was trying to kill him. He said it out loud. He told his family. And he still couldn't escape it. That, to me, is the most haunting part of this entire case. Not the poison, not the insurance fraud, not even the children's book. It's the fact that he knew and the world didn't listen in time. Eric Richins was 39 years old when he died. He left behind 3 sons who will grow up without their father. The truth of what happened in that bedroom on the night of March 3rd into March 4th, 2022. Only one person knows for certain, and she has chosen not to speak. Whether a jury ultimately finds Kouri Richins guilty or not, the facts of this case have already forced the entire country to ask a deeply uncomfortable question. How well do we really know the people who sleep beside us? That's the case of Kouri Richins. And I promise you, we will be following this one as the verdict comes in. So make absolutely sure you subscribe to Dark Files and have notifications turned on, because when that verdict drops, I will be covering every detail right here on this channel. If this video opened your eyes, if it shook you, if it made you think, please give it a thumbs up. It helps more people find stories like this one. And share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Kouri Richins is guilty? What detail shocked you the most? Do you think the children's book was calculated, or could it have been genuine grief? I read every single comment. This community is the reason I keep digging into the dark. Until next time, stay curious, stay sharp, and remember, sometimes the darkest files are the ones closest to home. This is Dark Files. See you in the next one.